Good morning, everyone. We'll get started here in just a moment. Thank you all for attending this morning's webinar. We'll give it just one more minute until it hits that 9 o'clock hour. But again, thank you for joining today's webinar. Okay, it looks like it is 9 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Laura Straub. I work at End Credit Union in our community education department. So I have the pleasure of being your host today to talk to y'all today about spring cleaning your finances. So hopefully you're ready to do some sprucing up. I know I did this a little bit over the weekend, just kind of clearing out some things, getting ready for the new quarter coming up. So again, my name is Laura, and we are going to talk about spring cleaning your finances. So let's dive into this, shall we? So our key takeaways today. First, I hope you'll evaluate and adjust your budgets, right? We're now in month 3 of the new year. So we want to take a look at what those budgets are. Are they working for us? Are they not working for us? So we are going to look and evaluate those budgets. And then we're going to look to save for the future, right? Summer is coming up, summer plans, maybe some traveling, shoot, maybe even just taxes if you haven't done taxes yet, right? So whatever that may look like for you. And then we're going to touch a little bit about navigating debt repayment. So what does that look like? What do we need in place for that? So those are going to be our takeaways today, but we are going to talk quite a bit about just our budgets and what we can do now that it's kind of spring. We have this energy to really kind of set us forward for the next couple of months. So first things first, we need to see where we're at now. So we want to get in there. We want to pull our credit card statements, our bank statements, and ideally from the last 3 months. It'll give us a better picture of our spending habits if we're able to pull a couple of months. And when we're doing that, whether you print it or you electronically pull it, but we want to highlight those expenses in different colors so we can differentiate our different categories. So ones that I mainly want you to focus on are those variable costs. So our groceries, right? That's a really big expense in our budgets that changes constantly. So we want to see what really are we spending for food, right? So whether it's dining out, fast food, to groceries themselves. So really differentiating that for us. Our gas money is another one. So our gas can kind of go up and down, and it's really hard to budget for that. So we want to kind of see what on average we're spending in that category. And then any other varying categories that you have that, tend to change. So like entertainment might be one, or maybe, getting your hair or nails done or something like that. So whatever kind of different categories that you want to highlight is really what we're looking for here. And we want to see what it is we're spending our money on so we can get a better picture for that. And we can evaluate it for the future. Now, I will plug personal financial management tools such as Money Insight Lite or any other app on your phone that connects your bank account to your credit card and all of that, where you're logging into those and it's pulling it all for you. And it really can help you figure out what your categorizes are. So like groceries or dining out, etc. And it kind of pulls it together for you. So you may not have to do as much math. So I do like them. I personally use the Ent one that's connected to our online banking, but really find one that works for you that you like and set that up, because then, yeah, you don't have to necessarily like calculate how much you're spending in some of these categories. But again, we just want to see, again, where we're at right now. What are we spending our money on? How much are we spending money in those different categories? Because it'll help us when it comes to making adjustments to our budget. So we want to consider our cash flow. So are we, going above what we're budgeting for constantly in a category? Or maybe we're not putting enough into savings, that we're not hitting the goals that we set for ourselves, whatever the case may be. And we want to look and really make adjustments to that budget for ourselves. So when it comes to decreasing our expenses, so really taking a good look at, again, where our money is going and what we're spending it on, and are there alternatives? And we'll talk a little bit here in just a second to that. Um, and then when it comes to increasing our income, maybe we're up for, an annual review or something coming soon, and we can maybe ask for a raise or a way we can increase our income, like a side hustle. Do we have a lot of stuff laying around our house that we're not really using that we can do a garage sale for? Springtime is the perfect time to do some of those things. So kind of looking around, seeing what might make sense for us to increase some of our income if that's something that we need to do. And then really taking a deep dive and looking at our spending habits, y'all. So are we going to the grocery store when hungry, and so we're buying more food than we intended? Or are we not making a list? So then we're just kind of willy-nilly going through the aisles, right? Or if you're like me and maybe you go shopping with your friends or family and you spend a little bit more than you intended just because you're having a fun time with those folks, right? So kind of just seeing if there are spending habits that we can either eliminate or kind of adjust, so that way we are hitting the budget that we actually want to. And then again, really creating that realistic budget. So I know I keep talking about food, but it really is one that's really hard to budget for. So creating that more realistic budget. I personally love shopping at Costco. So I have made a more realistic budget to encompass some of those random finds that I see there. And that way I don't ever feel like I'm always constantly going over budget in that category. But then I also allow myself like that one little fun treat, the end cap or whatever it may be for you all. Again, just setting that realistic budget so we can stick to it and know where our money is going so we can hit our goals and we can save for a fun trip or for a wedding coming down the line or for retirement, right? So I want to circle back to that decrease expense line there. So what are ways that we can kind of decrease that? The first thing is going to look at prioritizing our values and goals. So we really want to see what is it that we are spending our money on, and is it stuff that we actually truly want to be spending our money on? So with that, like looking for ways and alternatives that we can maybe change what it is we're spending our money on. So looking at like our streaming services, a lot of us have multiple streaming services. So like we have a Hulu, a Netflix, a Disney Plus, and all the other ones, right? So maybe looking at that and kind of reevaluating, like, are we logging into all of the streaming services consistently for the month? And is it something that like maybe there's a new season that dropped on Netflix, so I'm only logging into Netflix, I'm not logging into the others. So maybe that's where we can pause or cancel those other subscriptions that we're no longer using, right? So just kind of keeping an eye on some of those subscriptions can really help us when it comes to budgeting for things that we are valuing. Another one is gym memberships. Oftentimes, a lot of us will sign up for a gym at the beginning of the year because that's something that we thought we were going to do. We were going to work out, go to the gym. And then we find now month 3 into the year, and we're not really utilizing that service anymore. So maybe looking at alternatives to that. Is there a different gym that we can use, or is there a gym at work that we can utilize instead? So just kind of seeing if there are alternatives to some of the spending that we're doing. Another thing too, when it comes to alternatives or looking for things to cut to decrease our expenses, is really looking at whether or not we're using generic or name brand items and if it matters for us in that budget, right? So looking to see for that kind of alternative, like switching from, a name brand detergent to maybe the store brand one, just to save a little bit. And that savings can add up quite a bit throughout the year. So just kind of seeing again if there's alternatives to what we are spending our money on. So that way we can stick to that budget or decrease those expenses of ours and really kind of make the most out of our situation. So some ways to kind of, again, reevaluate our budget. And really, it is going to take some time to just go through what it is that you are spending your money on and seeing again if there's ways that we can kind of change up our behaviors or what we're spending our money on. Now, a lot of times folks will say, oh, just cut out your morning coffee, right? Well, if that coffee break with your friends or going to Starbucks just to feel good or whatever it may be is a value of yours, then don't cut it out. Just put it in your budget so you know, like, you have like 25 bucks for a nice cup of coffee for yourself, whatever it may be. So just again, we're not necessarily looking for things to cut, but if there are, then yes, let's do it. But don't just cut things from your budget because it, makes sense and it adds up, right? And we want to make sure that we are keeping the things that we value in our budgets and that we're just budgeting for it. We're planning for it. All right. Now, some of us may be coming up with some extra money, whether it's from a bonus or a tax return or just whatever the case may be. So I want to touch on this idea of windfall money. So it's receiving an unexpected or expected large sum of money, again, such as our tax returns or bonuses, maybe. So when we do get that, we really want to look to putting it to use for us and not just viewing it as something to splurge. So is there debt that we can pay down, right? Do we have some credit card debt that we might want to put this money toward? Or do we want to contribute to our emergency fund, which we'll talk about here in just a second? And then do we want to put it away for other savings, maybe some other long-term savings that we have, or maybe saving for a down payment for a car or whatever the case may be. Saving for retirement is another great option for putting some unexpected large sums of money for. And then this last one, invest or upgrade, right? So we can invest in a new wardrobe for work. We can invest in the stock market, right? Or we can upgrade things in our life that maybe we probably should. Like if we're driving the same car from high school and it's not really reliable anymore, we can use this, windfall money for a down payment for a new car and upgrade our life. Or maybe a new dishwasher because ours isn't working very well, whatever it may be for you all. Again, wardrobe, a new backpack or something that's going to be practical use for us is a really great option for some of these unexpected sums of money that are coming to us. Now, when it comes to our savings, I mentioned saving up for an emergency fund there if we are getting a windfall. Well, springtime is a great time to relook at our emergency savings and see if we're saving for an emergency fund. Do we have a safety net, right? So if we don't, or maybe we just haven't looked at it in a while, maybe just getting started back again, right? Putting a little bit every paycheck to this savings fund can really help us. And we want to make sure it's easy access. So when it comes to easy access, I'm talking about like a high yield savings account or a money market saving account where we're getting a little bit more with that interest rate, but it's not tied up in a retirement account where we're going to pay penalties or fees for accessing that money, right? So we want to make sure that we can access it if we do have an emergency where we lose our job or a medical expense comes up and we need access to this money. And then we want to calculate our goals. So when it comes to an emergency fund, a lot of financial experts will tell you to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in there. So we just did our calculating our budget and we saw how much is going toward our expenses, right? Giving a really daunting large number, that 3 to 6 months, right? So just breaking it into smaller, more manageable goals for ourselves can really help when it comes to calculating our goals. So breaking it into $1,000. And once we have $1,000, maybe increasing it to include all of our groceries for 3 months or all of rent payment for 3 months, whatever the case may be for you and whatever is more attainable when it comes to setting up smaller goals to then ultimately reach that 3 to 6 months of expenses. But again, $1,000 is a great emergency fund in there. It'll help with most all deductibles and things like that. And then we want to define what an emergency is for us in our household. So if we are living with others and we're sharing this like emergency fund, then defining what that means. So if like our water heater goes out, is that an emergency fund or is that part of our normal savings, right? So just kind of defining what that means for your family and putting that into your goals of like, okay, yes, like upgrading our water heater and furnace or whatever is part of our emergency fund and we need to save for it. And then knowing our unknowns. So that may seem silly, but like if we own a car, we know that like our tires will need to be replaced at some point. We just don't know when. Or same with like our battery in our car, right? And I already mentioned appliances. So kind of just knowing what might be happening on the horizon is really helpful when it comes to creating and building this emergency fund. So again, just getting started when it comes to emergency savings. So just putting like maybe $2 a paycheck away for an emergency can just help you. Again, if you have a loss of income or a really big medical expense or something in your house or car goes down. And then again, easy access. All right. So we're kind of stockpiling all these documents and savings for future. And I really want to highlight like we want to save for the fun things in life too. So summer, I don't know about y'all, but summer is such a fun time of like going on trips, maybe some concerts, really just activities. I feel like a lot of folks do a lot more in summer just because it's just like bright outside and just that energy of summer. So saving for a trip or activities that we want to do. And right now, setting a little bit aside every month. So that way, come summer or fall, we can go on that Labor Day weekend trip and have a blast or go to that concert series or whatever the case may be for us. So kind of setting an amount that we want and then dividing it by how many months are until that event or until we have to purchase it can kind of help you calculate some of these goals for yourself. And then looking for free things to do. So are there neighborhood events and fairs that are free that we can just go walk around and enjoy the summertime or springtime or whatever, right? And then outdoor activities. We live in such a beautiful state. So getting outdoors, seeing what free things we can do out there. And then I really want to highlight libraries. They have so much to offer when it comes to, yes, books, but they have video games, board games. They even have state passes and other types of passes and discounts to some of the activities here in Colorado. So if you live in the Denver area, they might have like a butterfly pavilion pass for you, so you can go there, or to the zoo. I know a lot of the libraries have like, a subscription to the zoo, so you can rent it out and take your family to the zoo. So just looking toward those resources, so we can do the fun things and maybe, have a little bit free or discounted way to do them is always helpful and handy when it comes to our budget. So looking to fun things for summer, again, just kind of putting it in our budget to plan and save for these things. So that way, when the time comes, we already have the money there in our savings account and we can utilize it for these fun adventures. Now, we have another one that we need to talk about during spring, and it's tax season too. So it's always a good idea because your brain is already on finances and looking through things to pull your credit report. So annualcreditreport.com is a government authorized website that you can go to. You can create an account and it'll have the 3 bureaus on there and you can pull each one. So you can do TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, etc., right? All 3 of them. And right now, because of COVID, we can do it weekly. So highly recommend, just even if you did it earlier in the year, just going now and pulling that. And when you're pulling that report, you want to verify all that information is correct and accurate, right? So there isn't a credit card that you had no idea that's being reported on your report, right? We want to make sure that our name and our address are correct in there. All of that jazz, right? We really want to make sure there isn't anything that we don't know on this credit report, okay? And when we're looking through it too, we want to see, like, are the balances matching up to what we know the balances to be, right? So really just making sure, again, that the information is correct. If you find something that is incorrect or an application that was not yours, that you didn't yourself do, then reporting it, getting the help to get that off your credit, etc. That annualcreditreport.com has some resources there, but always feel free to come into a service center and we can help you out with where to go and how to get the help you need should you find something that is not yours on your credit report, okay? Now, one thing to note when you pull these reports from the three bureaus, they will not show your credit score, okay? They are just showing our credit card activity, our loan activity, etc. It won't show us that score. So there are different ways that we can then see our score to kind of see what range we're falling in. So I'll highlight this one. We partner with savvymoney.com. So n.com/your-credit can get you there. Now, what's really nice about this is it does kind of break down the 5 components of our credit score into grades. So our payment history, which makes up the biggest part of our credit score. So it'll give us a letter grade for that. So then we kind of know, like, ooh, okay, like maybe I'm not paying on time all the time, or I had a late payment a while back, so my grade in this isn't so good. Like, how can I improve it? Same with like credit age, right? Like, are we opening up a lot of credit, etc. So it'll give us that category breakdown, which is really nice and is just as helpful to kind of see what's going on when it comes to our credit score. So with this, again, we're just kind of seeing what range we're falling in. Are there ways that we can maybe improve it or kind of just clean up our credit? So again, springtime is a really great time to kind of just pull this and access it, since we're kind of already on the mind of our money and getting some stuff figured out for the rest of the year, right? So again, savvymoney.com is a great resource for you. Now, we also want to clean and file away stuff. So we want to clear out our desks. So do we have piles of paper hanging out, right? So we want to file away those important receipts, put it into tax years, and then shred unwanted and unneeded documents. So maybe you got a mailer for a new credit card and you're not wanting it, shred it, right? So look for events. If you don't have a shredder, we do have shred days at End, so you can look for those at end.com/events and see when one might be happening near you. But again, a good time just to kind of clean house, if you will, and get some of these documents organized and stored away. One thing to note too, like for 2024, starting a file for it for your medical expenses and maybe other items that we would use for tax season, already putting it away for next year's filing time can just really help you out. And then if you pulled all that stuff out for taxes this time, making sure you organize it again and put it away and file what you need, okay? So again, just cleaning up. And then we want to talk a little bit about debt repayment here in the last little bit of class. So debt can be super stressful and expensive, and it really limits the amount we put toward those goals and the fun things in life. So we want to see how we can tackle it. So while we're organizing those files and getting things out, let's organize our debt. We want to see where we're at with it, especially if we are paying stuff off. We want to check in, see how we're doing on those goals that we set for ourselves. So looking to see, do we have credit cards, student loan, or medical debt, or home and auto loans? And we want to see what those balances are, the interest rate, payment term, and all of that, because that will help us determine a budget or like a debt repayment strategy to then pay it off. Okay. So now is a great time to kind of reassess these, see where we're at. Are we making payments on time to those? Again, that'll help our credit score so much, just making payments on time. And then if we're able to put any extra toward paying off the principal amounts to kind of just help us, and then can we consolidate any of these, right? So just really kind of taking a stock and looking at it can really help us, since we're already kind of in the mindset of getting and gathering our data and information and our finances. Now, we do have some free financial coaching. So when you are pulling all that, your debt, really seeing like, okay, are there debt strategies that may help me pay this off more efficiently? Maybe talking to one of our financial coaches can help you do that. Or when you were looking at your budget and you're just not figuring out a good way to kind of organize it or get started on creating a budget, come talk to us. We can kind of help you. We can send you a budget template to kind of plug and chug your numbers in, see if that helps you out, whatever the case may be. So again, it's free. You can just come in and talk to us in person, or we do have some virtual ones. So going to ent.com/financial coaching, you can sign up or see where our financial coaches are. We're across the Front Range, so we should be by a service center near you. But again, if not, we can do virtual. So you can absolutely check in then. And then if you want to learn more and dive deeper into budget strategies or that debt repayment I was talking about, check our other webinars, because they will go very nitty gritty into those two different categories. So you can register at ent.com/events. And with that, I hope y'all learned a little bit about spring cleaning, what we can kind of do to rejuvenate, get ready for summer and the fall, and just kind of reevaluate our finances and our budget. So thank you all for joining today's quick little seminar about spring cleaning finances. Again, you can find more events at ent.com/events, and look for shred days as well if you do want to shred any of those documents that we're pulling and categorizing to make our budget. So, all right. Well, thank you again for joining this Monday morning. We appreciate it, and have a lovely rest of your day.